Hello and welcome to Michael's Minty Music for today. Today we review the Portal 2 soundtrack, Portal 2 Songs to Test By. Came out in 2011. It's pretty good, a little long, but it's got a lot of good tracks overall, I would say. Here's the track listing. It's a little difficult to see, but it's all there, all three volumes, 3 discs. And these are the tracks I added to my playlist. 27 out of a total 66 tracks over all 3 discs. That's only a couple less than half, around a third of the whole album, which is really good for a video game soundtrack. The album definitely has a lot more tracks than it needs, but overall still really good. There's a couple of sections which come together nicely, and there's a few sections that are a little boring. The first disc is certainly the weakest, and I think the second disc is the strongest, although it's pretty tight between the second and third disc overall, since the third disc has the credits tracks, which are pretty good. The album is mostly just a really cool genre of kind of techno rock instrumental beats. Clearly kind of an evolution from the previous Portal and Half-Life soundtracks. There's some influence from early 2000s pop music, especially like kind of electronic stuff, but it's still all entirely instrumental, aside from the credit songs. The songs are really good at producing a sort of active ambience, in contrast with the Portal 1 soundtrack, which is more kind of a calm ambience. There's some tracks here that are really quick and upbeat, but they still manage to avoid attracting a ton of attention while you're playing the game. This soundtrack is great at staying in the background and doing it very well. As a video game soundtrack, the album obviously doesn't have the same flow as non-video game albums, but it's still pretty decent overall. In general, this album is really good, I would say. There were obviously no songs released as singles, and no tracks here were on the radio. My favorite song here, actually, you won't expect this one. It's the end credits song for the multiplayer mode, Robots for the Win. I really like the end credits songs for the single player mode as well, but the end credits for the multiplayer just kind of has an unserious vibe that I really like. But the end credits for the single player mode, Want You Gone, are also really good. I rank this album the best out of Mike Morasky, the composer's work, over his work on the Team Fortress 2 soundtrack and Portal 1. This is definitely better than Portal 1 soundtrack, mostly just through more variety and a clearer style overall. It's difficult to match up against the Team Fortress 2 soundtrack, but I feel Portal 2's music is just more consistent stylistically and has a more consistent level of quality. The Team Fortress 2 soundtrack has more variety, but it doesn't come together as cleanly as Portal 2. In terms of overall video game rankings, I rank this one 6th out of the 15 video game soundtracks I've officially listened to, so close to the middle. Soundtrack's definitely the culmination of this sort of Valve soundtracks here. It beats out all of Kelly Bailey's work, but it doesn't beat out the really genius soundtracks of the Splatoon series and Undertale. This is basically the best video game soundtrack that is only really good, not any really great or perfect soundtrack here. But it's still really good, so it's definitely the best one in terms of that. However, it doesn't take my top spot from 2011. That stays with Adele's 21, which is a really great album. And while the Portals 2 soundtrack could be a favorite from another year, it's not going to take it when there's a really good, more traditional pop album competing for the same spot. 21, I would say, is probably better than the Portal 2 soundtrack, just in general. Next up is Blondie's 2011 album, Panic of Girls. I really like the cover on this one, and I'm interested to see where they go at the beginning of the 2010s, because their late 90s, 2000 work was pretty interesting. So I'm interested to see if this continues that or if it goes somewhere new. So stay tuned for that, and as always, stay minty.